I'm Emily Carter. I'm 22. And last month, I became the majority owner of Carter Systems, a tech company valued at over $100 million. Sounds like the beginning of a dream. Right, except that dream turned into a full-blown nightmare within days. Because the people I thought would celebrate with me, my own mother and her new husband, tried to take it all away. I grew up around Carter Systems. My grandfather, Charles Carter, built it from nothing. He started in a garage with a second-hand computer and a folding chair. By the time I hit middle school, his company had offices in 3 countries and made software that hospitals and schools relied on. While other kids spent summers at sleepaway camp, I was following Grandpa through conference rooms and server farms. He never pushed me into the business. He just let me fall in love with it in my own time. I majored in business at NYU, interned at Carter Systems every summer, and worked my way into strategy meetings before I graduated. Grandpa used to say I had my dad's brain and my grandma's fire. I liked that. I liked thinking I belonged. What I didn't know was that not everyone in my family saw it that way. What should have been the happiest moment of my life, signing the papers that made me majority owner, became the start of a war I never saw coming. And it wasn't with strangers. It was with the people who shared my last name. I wish I could tell you my childhood was as perfect as it looked from the outside. Nice house. Private school. Christmas cards with matching sweaters. But underneath all that, it was just me and Grandpa. My dad died in a car accident when I was 6. He was Charles's only son. My mom, Vanessa, was shattered for a while. I remember her sleeping for days, walking around in a bathrobe, crying at every commercial. But not long after, she started disappearing. First for nights, then for weekends. Then I'd wake up and find a note that she was in Miami or Paris or Vegas. Sometimes she'd bring back gifts. Sometimes just silence. Grandpa stepped in quietly. He never said a bad word about her. He just showed up at every school play, every science fair, every stomach flu. While she chased distraction, he built stability around me. He taught me about stock reports and computer code before I hit high school. On Sundays, while she slept off cocktails, I'd sit in his office and help him organize files. People used to call me the golden girl. Top of my class. Polished. Smart. But inside, I was always trying to earn my mom's attention. Like maybe if I got perfect enough, she'd finally look at me and see something worth loving. That never happened. But I stopped waiting. Instead, I started building something that didn't need her to validate it. Dean Mitchell entered our lives like a late-night infomercial, flashy, charming, and suspiciously perfect. I first met him at a brunch my mom hosted at a rooftop bar downtown. He showed up in a pressed blue blazer, Rolex on his wrist, and the kind of practice smile that looks like it's been tested in mirrors. He used to be a sales director at a software competitor, but now he was between opportunities. That's how he phrased it. Grandpa didn't say much during that brunch, but when Dean got up to take a call, he leaned over and whispered, "I've seen men like that circle companies like vultures." Still, Mom was hooked. She laughed at all his jokes, introduced him as if he were a CEO, and acted like she'd just won the lottery. I smiled through it, pretending I didn't notice the way Dean's eyes kept drifting toward Grandpa's leather portfolio, or the way he asked me how long until I'd step up at Carter Systems. I didn't like him, but I didn't know yet how much damage he was capable of. They got married in a vineyard in Sonoma. It was my mom's 3rd wedding. Dean's 2nd or so, we thought. The whole event felt like a networking pitch. Dean made the rounds, shaking hands, dropping names, and cornering anyone with a LinkedIn account. Grandpa and I stayed mostly silent. We watched. We listened. I caught Dean asking one of Carter Systems' board advisors whether Grandpa was planning to retire soon. When I told Grandpa, he just nodded slowly and said, "I thought he might be fishing." At the reception, my mom gave a toast about new beginnings and blended families. I forced a smile, but I couldn't stop noticing the way Dean barely looked at her when she spoke. His eyes were scanning the room, like he was looking for his next move. That night, Grandpa pulled me aside. "I'm making changes," he said. "Just in case." I didn't know what he meant yet, but part of me felt the ground start to shift. My 22nd birthday landed on a Saturday. Grandpa insisted on hosting a small party at his estate. His version of small meant 50 guests, live jazz, and a catered 3-course dinner under garden lights. I should have been celebrating. I didn't know I was walking into the biggest turning point of my life. Dean and Mom arrived fashionably late. She was wearing a red gown, like she was stepping onto a red carpet. Dean wore that same toothy smile and spent the first hour trying to talk shop with our senior engineers. I tried to ignore him. I failed. Around 9, Grandpa tapped his wine glass. The patio fell quiet. "First, let's all wish my granddaughter a happy birthday," he said. Then he took my hand and turned to the crowd. "I've been in this business 50 years. It's time for someone new." I thought he was just getting sentimental. Then he said it. "As of today, I am transferring majority ownership and operational control of Carter Systems to Emily Carter." Gasps. Applause. My hand shook. I looked at him. He just smiled. Dean was frozen. Mom's smile cracked. "He's joking." "Right?" I heard her murmur. Grandpa kept going. "The documents are signed. Effective immediately. Emily is now the majority owner and CEO. My attorney Walter is here with the final copies. I signed them in front of everyone." Still in shock. The guests cheered. My mom stood there like she'd just watched her credit card get declined. Dean, he didn't even pretend to clap. When the party thinned, Grandpa leaned close and said, "I didn't warn you because I needed to see how they'd react when it wasn't reversible. They reacted exactly as I expected. I didn't know it then. But the fight had already begun. The last guests left just after midnight. I was helping the kitchen staff clean up when I heard my name from the hallway. My mom's voice. Cold. Controlled. "We need to talk." In the study. Now. I followed her in, and Dean closed the door behind us with a little too much force. The same study where Grandpa taught me how to read quarterly reports now felt like a pressure cooker. What the hell was that, Mom snapped? "Pacing. Grandpa's retirement gift. Apparently," I said, trying to keep my voice level. "This is completely irresponsible." Dean cut in, his tone stripped of any charm. "You're 22. You just got out of college. You have no experience running a company of this size." I squared my shoulders. "I've been working at Carter Systems since I was 16. I know this company better than anyone outside that boardroom." Mom crossed her arms. "Working summer internships is not the same as running operations." Which is why Dean interrupted. "Like they'd rehearsed this. I'll be stepping in as interim CEO while you transition." I stared at them. "You mean, while you take over?" He smiled. Smug. "It's for stability. Optics. Clients don't want to see a child playing boss." "I'm not a child," I said flatly. "And Grandpa already appointed me." Dean stepped closer. "Look, sweetheart, you keep the title, enjoy the money, but let the grown-ups handle the business." That's when I turned to my mom. "You're okay with this?" Her jaw tightened. "This is my house. Emily. And Dean is my husband. If you can't respect that, maybe you shouldn't be here." I felt it hit me like a physical blow. My own mother, threatening to throw me out for not handing over my future. My voice broke. "You'd kick me out over this." She didn't answer. "Then I guess I'll go," I whispered. "Just agree to let Dean run things. And we can move forward as a family." She said, "Some family?" At that moment, a voice cut through the tension from the doorway. Well, isn't this a revealing little meeting?" We turned. Grandpa stood there, leaning on his cane. Expression unreadable. "Richard." Mom started. "We were just," he raised a hand. "I heard everything. Dean turned red. Sir, let me explain. Don't bother. Grandpa said. Walking into the room, you've shown your hand. And much earlier than I expected. Not very patient. Are you? He turned to me. Go pack a bag. Emily. Not because you're being kicked out, but because you'll be staying in the guest house tonight. Tomorrow we implement Plan B. Plan B, Dean echoed. Suddenly unsure. Grandpa smiled. Cold. Calculated. Did you really think I'd hand over my life's work without a few safeguards? You've made a serious miscalculation. The guest house was beautiful. But that night, it felt sterile and cold. I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the scene, hearing my mother's voice saying, "This is my house," and seeing the way Dean smirked when she said it. The next morning, Grandpa arrived at 8 a.m. sharp, holding a folder and wearing his battlesuit, the nickname his staff gave his finest tailored blazer. "Sleep well?" he asked, knowing full well I hadn't. "Not really," I mumbled, pouring us both coffee. "Good," he said. "Anger's better fuel than fear." He sat down and laid out everything. Over the last month, Dean had been quietly meeting with board members, suggesting Grandpa was mentally slipping. He'd reached out to key clients, hinting at new leadership. He'd even contacted a known corporate raider about selling Carter systems in pieces. "How do you know all this?" I asked. "Because I had him investigated," Grandpa said. Matter of fact. He slid photos across the table. Dean shaking hands with competitors. Dean entering hotels with women who weren't my mom. Dean, whose real name, it turned out, was Robert Evans, had changed identities twice before. Both times after marrying wealthy women and draining their assets. "Does Mom know?" I asked. "She sees what she wants to see," he replied gently. That morning, I found out my access card to the Carter Systems building had been deactivated. Dean had issued a company-wide memo claiming to be interim CEO. My credentials were frozen. My office was locked. Rumors started about my mental health. My qualifications? My alleged drug problem. Anything to make me look unstable. I came back to the guest house broken. "They're winning." "Grandpa," I said. "People are believing him." He folded his newspaper and looked at me. "Are you finished feeling sorry for yourself?" His bluntness shocked me. "Did you think taking over a $100 million company would be easy? That they'd just hand it to you because you were smart and nice?" He leaned forward. "This is your first real test as a leader. How you respond now will define everything." He swallowed hard. "So what's Plan B?" Finally. He smiled. "I thought you'd never ask." The boardroom sat at the top of Carter Systems HQ. All glass walls and expensive leather. Dean sat at the head of the table. My seat. My company. Mom was beside him. Eyes forward. Lips tight. Dean stood to speak. "We're in a delicate transition. While Emily's inheritance is legally binding, we believe it's in everyone's best interest to have experienced leadership during this period." Some board members nodded. Others avoided eye contact. Dean smiled. "Until further notice, I'll be acting CEO." He paused. "Any objections?" "Yes." "Mine." I stood. Grandpa beside me. Our attorney, Mr. Ross, handed folders to every board member. Inside, I said, "You'll find Dean's real name, his history of marrying wealthy women, taking control of assets, and disappearing. You'll also find evidence of meetings with our competitors about selling the company." Dean stood up. Flushed. "This is ridiculous. Everything is verified." Our lawyer said calmly. Susan, our CTO, added. "He accessed restricted files on our R&D roadmap without approval." James, our CFO, said. "He also requested offshore transfer access. Twice." Dean's voice rose. "This is character assassination." "No," I said quietly. "It's clarity. Dean turned to the board. You don't have to listen to this. I have confidential product data. I'll go public if I have to. You mean the fake data we planted? Susan said calmly. Dean froze. We monitored everything you accessed. She added. The files you downloaded are deliberate decoys. Anyone who acts on them will lose millions. Grandpa slid one final document forward. Section 23B of the transfer agreement. For 1 year, no major actions can be taken without dual authorization from both myself and Emily. Board President Taylor cleared his throat. So Dean has zero authority. Grandpa nodded. And Emily holds 70% of this company. I hold 25. Security guards entered. 2 police officers followed. Mr. Evans, one said. We have a warrant for your arrest on charges of fraud and corporate espionage. Dean looked at my mother. Vanessa. Say something. She turned away. Silent. As they escorted him out, I sat back in the chair that used to be Grandpa's. This is my company now. After everything, my mother didn't talk to me for 3 days. Then she showed up at the guest house. No makeup. Just a plain blouse and tired eyes. I don't expect forgiveness. She said. Good. I said. Because I'm not ready. She nodded. I never wanted it to go that far. I just thought Dean made me believe you weren't ready. That you'd need help. He used you. And you let him. She cried. I didn't hug her. But as she turned to leave, I said, we'll work on it. 1 day at a time. She looked back. Surprised. That was all I could give her. And maybe it was enough. Taking over was harder than I expected. Some employees cheered. Some waited. Some stared like I was wearing someone else's clothes. I listened more than I spoke. I met with every department. I owned my inexperience out loud. We're going to build a new kind of leadership here. I told them, transparent, accountable, collaborative. Our first launch under my name, a cybersecurity tool, beat every projection. Grandpa gave me a look I'll never forget. You made a call I wouldn't have, he said. And it worked. That's how I knew I belonged in that chair. It's been 6 months since that birthday party. Carter Systems is stronger than ever. My relationship with my mom is still a work in progress. But we're trying. Dean is facing multiple charges. He's not coming back. But this story, it's not about him. It's about what happens when someone tries to write you out of your own legacy and you take the pen back. They tried to erase me. So I rewrote the story. If you've ever been betrayed by someone you trusted, if you've ever had to fight for what's already yours, I hope my story gives you strength. Because sometimes, the people who try to limit you are the ones who show you how limitless you really are.